For our topic, Gender and Sex, we examined the reading The Gender Order and Sexualities. The article begins with 5 listed questions that cover the most important aspects of the article, so we focus on answering these questions. There is a huge amount of research and theorizing on gender development, but 3 broad traditions can be briefly distinguished. Social learning theories. These suggest that the differences in how genders behave is learned the same way as most behaviors, through a mixture of rewards, reinforcements, and punishments. Cognitive theories. These suggest that the differences among genders occur through a categorization process where males will recognize themselves as more masculine and therefore organize their experiences through that ideology. For example, because I am a boy, I will do boy activities and I will enjoy these boys' activities. Psychodynamic theories. These suggest that the differences in gender emerge out of emotional struggles between the infant and its caretaker in the earliest years of their life. In the reading, Nancy Chodorow suggests that masculinity and femininity are rooted in strong emotional structures established very early in the life and are quite hard to alter. She goes on to further imply that in order to understand the development of these strong emotional structures, an analysis on previous intense connections between a child and their mother needs to be addressed. This is true for Western culture and not specifically other cultures, however. According to Nancy, from birth, a strong attachment between a mother and a child is established, and an absence of that connection can result in anxiety and fear. Chodorow suggests that eventually the child will break away from the strong identification with the carer, the mother, to test its competence against the outside world. Although both the baby girl and baby boy are primarily attached to the mother, it is reported that the girl remains attached while the boy often breaks away. It's suggested that the young girl does not outgrow her dependency, therefore does not develop a strong sense of separateness and boundaries, leading to her ultimately identifying with the needs of others compared to males. Further along the life of women, this will assert itself as the need to mother. The basic feminine sense of self is connected to the world. The basic masculine sense of self is separate. Therefore, whilst the girl remains in close identification with her mother, the boy is pushed into a sharper, stronger, and earlier separation. Gender stratification refers to a society's unequal distribution of wealth, power, and privilege between the sexes. The women's movement, a series of political campaigns in all regions of the world attempting to reform issues such as reproductive rights, domestic violence, equal pay, and sexual harassment, are one of, if not the leading cause, currently attempting to extinguish gender stratification completely. The women's movement challenges gender stratification in particular ways they deem will most effectively help reach their goal of gender equality. For example, the women's movement tackled domestic violence by setting up women's refugee camps in the 1970s and shifting public and official attitudes to a previously accepted and hidden practice. To reduce the prevalence of rape, the women's movement in the 1970s changed rape legislation, created rape crisis centres, and introduced helplines. Reclaim the Night rallies were also initiated and helplines were created. Although we have come a long way, more needs to be done as rape still remains a significant global issue affecting millions across the globe.
Sexuality represents sexual identity, attraction, and experiences, including but not limited to heterosexuality, homosexuality, and bisexuality. The reading indicates that since sexuality is one of the most personal areas of someone's life, sociologists over time have not spent a great deal looking into it. More or less, the modern understanding of sex is studied more by biologists, for example, looking into hormones, brain structures, drives, and instincts. Ultimately, sociologists approach sexuality by asking questions about the way it links to social stratification and social exclusion. Extending from the previous question, the role of sociology in the study of sexuality looks at social stratification and social exclusion. For example, in the Victorian era of the late 19th century, when it was first recognised that there was more to sexuality than just heterosexuality, homosexuality was outlawed in the large majority of the British colonies. Additionally, many doctors were assigned to the task of finding a cure. Whilst this is a somewhat specific example of how a society reacted to this progression in the understanding of sexuality, the social stigma surrounding it remained unchanged for a rather long time and can still be seen similarly widespread through the Middle East and some parts of Africa. On the contrary, countries such as Australia are on the back end of a long period of discrimination towards the oppression of those identifying as gay, lesbian or queer.